The 2024 Boston Celtics are undeniably one of the greatest teams of all time. You can look at their net rating, which rivals the 96 Bulls and the 2017 Warriors. You can look at their playoff record of 16-3, or their combined total record of 80-21, which also puts them among the all-time greats. Or you could just simply look at their personnel. I was thinking back to NBA history, and I cannot recall a time where a team had a starting five that could all give you around 17 to 20 points per game, shoot threes, and play elite defense. And on top of that, they're all capable of creating their own shot when they have to. They are probably the most well-rounded starting five in the history of the league, and I sincerely mean that. Heck, on NBA 2K, their whole starting five is at least 87 overall. When has that ever happened? I've never seen that in my entire life. That is insane. So like I said earlier, they are probably the most complete team in the history of the NBA. Even if you look at the 2017 Warriors, their starting lineup of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and Zaza Pachulia still had some weak points. Now, of course, Zaza was the odd one out, but even aside from him, Draymond Green couldn't exactly shoot the ball well anymore, and he was always a limited scorer. Additionally, Steph Curry was never an elite defender. Now, before you guys come for my head, I'm not saying the 24 Celtics are better than the 17 Warriors, or would even beat them in a series. In fact, I have the Warriors winning in probably 5 or 6 games. I'm simply just saying that the 24 Celtics are the only team that I've seen that has a starting five with no real exploitable offensive or defensive weakness. There has been 6 different champions in the last 6 years. This hasn't happened since the 1970s. Additionally, aside from the 1970s, there has been a dynasty in every decade of the NBA's history. In the 1950s, you had the Minneapolis Lakers, led by George Mikan. In the 1960s, you of course had the Boston Celtics, led by Bill Russell. In the 1980s, you had the Los Angeles Lakers, led by Magic and Kareem, and I guess you could argue for the Boston Celtics, of course led by Larry Bird. 1990s, we had the Bulls with Michael Jordan. 2000s, the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. The Spurs with Tim Duncan, and then in the 2010s, we have the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. And so far in the 2020s, we have no one. Right now, this decade is looking a lot like the 1970s, where there were so many different champions and no real dynasty. And over the last few years, there has been a lot of talk about how the age of dynasties is over, and part of that is because there's just too many skilled and talented players in the league that's harder to dominate the competition. And then, of course, more importantly, the new CBA rules. Now, I'm not gonna lie and act like I understand everything about the new CBA or how it applies to the Celtics situation and their team. But what I do know is that Tatum and Brown are there for the long term. And what I also know is that Brad Stevens is pretty freaking good at his job. So I say all this to say the age of dynasties is not over. And whoever told you that, well, they're wrong. I hope you guys enjoyed the age of parity we just got, because right now we are entering a new age, and it's one that the NBA is very familiar with, the age of the dynasty. And with Boston's win on Monday night, we all just witnessed the birth of it.